Vaccinations are a way so that your children don't have to suffer unnecessarily, because that's what it is, it's suffering. My name is JoAnn Jamison. I grew up in Candu, North Dakota. I now live in Fargo, and prior to that we lived in Kindred, where we raised our 3 daughters. They've given me 6 grandsons, and now I'm getting a granddaughter in a couple of weeks. Yeah, now as the measles outbreak has happened again, I've been thinking a lot about when I had the measles, and I was in the 2nd grade. I had measles, mumps, and chickenpox all in the same school year. I missed over 7 weeks of school. The measles was by far the worst of the 3 illnesses. I vaguely remember the other 2, but I remember in pretty good detail about how sick I was with the measles. My parents we lived in a 2-story house, an older home in Candu, and my mom and dad's bedroom was on the 2nd floor on the north side, and I'm thinking that's probably why they put me in that room, because it was the darkest in the top of the house for sunlight and that kind of thing, because the worst symptom that I had was light sensitivity. But in addition to that, I was really, really sick. I laid in that room for days, and I remember not wanting to leave that bed. I was very sick with fever, body aches and chills, and then this extreme light sensitivity where I had to walk down a hallway that had daylight in it during the daytime, of course, to go to the bathroom, and I could barely stand it to go to the bathroom just to have any light at all. So I couldn't read because that hurt my eyes so badly. My parents did have a stereo, and that too was a large piece of equipment. It was like a wooden stereo that had a record player and an 8-track tape player. This was in 1965, and they hauled that stereo upstairs and placed it beside the bed and bought me the Cinderella album that I brought along for a prop. I still have it. I just can't part with it because it was my best friend for so many days. They bought me another record too that was like Disney hits or something, and I literally laid in that bed for days and listened to these 2 records. I laid there. I distinctly remember laying in this dark room with a eye mask on, listening to these albums and getting up to flip them over and listen to the other side. Yeah, it was awful. And I believe I think I must have missed about 2.5 weeks of school during that. Again, 7 weeks total for the year with the 3 illnesses that are all preventable now, thankfully. But the measles, I believe it was about 2.5 weeks. I maybe would tell a little bit about my own story and how miserably sick that I was. I think now when I read about this eye sensitivity, the light sensitivity, which at the time I had no idea, I'm sure my mother knew nothing about it either, but you read about it now, probably conjunctivitis and maybe even meningitis possibility. That could have been deadly for me. I was lucky. So, but I think back on that, it was pretty horrible. And do people really understand how bad these illnesses can be? Because not everybody gets as sick as that. I understand that. I don't know, vaccinations are pretty, a way so that your children don't have to suffer unnecessarily, because that's what it is, it's suffering when you're that sick.